Images in eLearning course, redesigned by Dharani Parthasarthi, Grace Cho, and Talita Feuerstein. For this project, we broke down each major element and split up the responsibilities amongst us. So Dharani was in charge of putting all the content together into the LMS. Grace was in charge of putting all the activities together, and Talita was responsible for redesigning the presentations. We met weekly to review each section and went through several iterations before arriving at the final product. Dharani. The general section serves as the landing page of the course. For this reason, we chose to transfer critical components of the original content, such as the introduction, course objectives, syllabus, resources, and communication into this section. We used a combination of labels, pages, and links to direct the learner's attention to content they will regularly need and use. To increase the look and feel of the general section, we added graphic banners and video introductions. We also used Moodle ability to hide pages and instead linked to them. This was to better the user interface of the section. The goal of the general section is to provide a quick glimpse of the course critical components in a way that allows learners to see changes immediately, but also scroll past easily to the weekly modules. Talita. We used a combination of tools such as Toonly, Doodly, Audiate, and Camtasia to create an animated introduction video for our general section. This allowed the content to become more easily accessible and interactive. Dharani. The use of the Moodle LMS allowed us to enhance collaboration between learners and instructors by adding a questions and answer feature, as well as a social forum feature. Week 1. Dharani. For week 1, we considered the existing getting started content and identified the following elements to include: an introduction text with video, a self-introduction discussion forum, and an activity to choose the final project groups. As this first week happened simultaneously to the learner's first view of the course and the content in the general section, we decided to streamline our learning activities. For this reason, the introductory text and video remind learners to go through the general section before completing the rest of the activities. Talita. It was important to us to make the course accessible, and initially, we thought of adding a podcast feature to introduce each lesson. We opted instead to once again create an animated video. The introduction and instructions video reviews the week's learning objectives and the flow of the course content, such as a brief description of the activities as well as due dates. We use the same format in all subsequent weeks to minimize cognitive load. Grace. For week 1, we revised the existing self-introduction discussion assignment so that it requires the learners to include images. We also added a Choose Your Group quiz, which presented a few images to the learners and asked them to choose any that called to them. Through the small activity, we hope to add some fun to the course while sticking with the theme of using images in eLearning. Week 2. Dharani. Week 2 is where the main content of the course began. We started off with an introduction text with video, included a pre-assessment quiz, topic notes, and a discussion, and ended with the Engage and Enhance activity, all but the latter extrapolated on the original course content. Some of the changes we made included adding a video introduction to the text on learning objectives and activities, adding feedback to the pre-assessment quiz that directs learners to specific parts of the topic notes presentation, revising and recording the topic notes presentation, adding links to the discussion forum to specific parts of the module, and designing the Engage and Enhance activity from scratch. Talita. For the main topic presentation, we opted to use a combination of tools such as PowerPoint, Audiate, and Camtasia to breathe some life into the content. The original presentation was done in Google Slides and was text-heavy. The redesigned presentation used most of the original content, but included more images, narration, fluid movement, and closed captions. We also added a PDF handout with notes of the presentation for those learners who would need or prefer to read or print their learning materials. Grace. In the Engage and Enhance activity, we asked learners to post a story using 5 images and provide a short explanation at the end of their story on the purpose of each image used. Here, learners are given the chance to demonstrate what they learned from the week's topic notes by carefully choosing their images and being able to explain how each image is useful and relevant to the story. Although there is no direct interaction, by sharing their work through a more hands-on activity, learners can become more real to each other. Week 3. Darani. Similar to last week, we included an introductory text with video, a pre-assessment quiz, and topic notes in this module. However, we also designed and added an entirely new activity for this week, Be the Jury. Thus, we did not use the original course's discussion assignment there. Talita. The original module was broken down into 2 separate parts into the same module. We opted to expanding the content into individual modules and transformed the original Google Slides presentation into a modern, narrated video that made tedious content easier to digest. And we even added a video within the video to further illustrate the concepts presented. Grace. Week 3's activity ties into the week's discussion post as well. Here, we asked learners to put themselves in the shoes of a juror that's asked to judge whether a real-life court proceeding over a copyright disagreement could be considered fair use or not. By bringing these real-life cases into the course, it helped learners make the connection between what they learn about copyright law and fair use and how these things could play out in real life. Learners would be working alone, but will be able to see each other's answers through the results page and discuss them with each other in the discussion of the week. The actual results of the cases might also be surprising and interest the learners, prompting further discussion and interaction. This activity is followed by a discussion of why each learner made that decision for each case. We're also sharing the prompt for the group project and letting the learners know which groups they'll be in. This group project asks learners to work together to create a how-to guide on an everyday task incorporating images. In this, they must consider the topic notes of each week and apply what they've learned. The activities throughout the course were added to give additional chances for the instructors and learners to interact and engage with each other. Week 3 activity uses the lesson LMS tool so that we can have learners answer several multiple choice questions and then have a results page where the instructor can put up the final results. This would not have been possible with the quiz tool or the book tool. The original activity idea had to be tweaked in order to fit into the available LMS tool. Week 4. Darani. The structure of this week is very similar to previous weeks. However, we chose not to have an activity this week so that the learners could spend more time on their group projects. In the discussion post for this week, we connected to the first week's self-introduction and made sure to provide a link to that activity. Grace. We ask learners to think back on their self-introductions using images from week 1 and reconsider the image they had used. They'll be asked to look for and post another image that they could have used, making sure this time they follow copyright laws and optimize the image for website use. Talita. For this week's main presentation, we follow the same format as previous lessons by transforming the original text-heavy presentation into a narrated video that explained the content with more images and text formatting techniques, as well as an instructional video on using Pixlr to optimize an image for web use. Darani. To create the pre-assessment quizzes, we converted the questions from the original course into Moodle quizzes. We also added feedback for each question that directed learners to specific parts of the topic notes presentation. Finally, we included review questions each week that asked students to recall what they learned in previous weeks. Grace. The discussion questions were designed to assess learning and to encourage some interaction. For each week's discussion, we either tweaked existing discussion questions from the original course or added our own. For example, Week 3 new discussion was based on the new Week 3 activity, so we did not use the original course question. Instead, we moved the question down to Week 4 and changed it to fit our redesigned course. Week 5. Talita. The original course only had 3 modules. We expanded the course to 5 weeks and included a group project to satisfy the collaboration requirement of the client. Darani. Last week focused on the group project and course reflection. The pre-assessment quiz was entirely made up of review questions. The topic notes were short and focused on the project, and the discussion was a reflection of the learners' takeaways from the course. Apart from the final group project, we also highlight the rubrics, grading scale, and the grade setup. In the syllabus, we revised and designed rubrics for each of the discussions and activities and assigned point values to each graded element. We then added each of these elements into the gradebook for the instructor to assign grades. Grace. Last week, learners were asked to submit their group projects. We introduced the project prompt and groups in Week 3, giving learners 2 weeks to complete the assignment. The expectation is that the group members would work together to make their how-to guide and apply what they learned in each week of the course. The group project was one of the changes requested from the instructor of the original course. It was another way to facilitate collaboration and enhance engagement among the learners, making the overall course a better learning experience. The group project submission was created using the Assignment LMS tool. We set it up so that only one person from each group would need to submit. This ensures that the instructor will not be bogged down with repeated submissions. We hope our redesigned course addresses all the concerns of the client. We look forward to working with them.